Alright, thanks for joining me today, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, thanks for joining me on my YouTube channel, L.A Ent.TV. Well, I do podcasts, videos, films, documentaries, and all that good stuff, as well as sports with my brothers, and music mixes and everything in between. So that's what I do. I'm a music DJ, producer, / filmmaker, and I do podcasting as well. So thanks for joining me on my YouTube channel, L.A Ent.TV. I know it's been a while since I've did a podcast videos because I've been very busy. Life is very busy with everyone, and with all this politics going on, you can't help but just think about how evil this world is at this moment. Let's just leave it the way it is. I don't want to get zapped, but you definitely have to do your homework on that about politics. Okay, I can't emphasize that more, how corrupt the system is. That's it. I'm not going to go any further because you don't want to get bombed on BombTube. But anyway, so for those of you who ever watch the Dahmer story back in the 90s, back I was only 21, and that whole incident when he had 17 victims, mostly teenagers, kids, and he would sexually abuse them, kill them, drug them, and then pretty much eat their bodies. I don't know how anybody could do that. So to me, I think that's very demonic, and he had some serious issues with dark forces. You have to be pretty dark to do that kind of heinous act to anybody, not just animals, because he started with animals, roadkill, I think it was squirrels, and then went to dogs, and then eventually he got bored and then started doing humans. But he was gay and gay intentions, so with being human beings, he had sexual urges, but with young boys. So not only he was that, he was a pedo. He was evil, demonic, and had a lot of a dark, evil presence in his brain. So to me, I love interesting stories, and watching that documentary on Netflix, I couldn't help but watch it. So apparently it was 50-50, half truths and half made up. So being in filmmaking and stuff like that, you know, they have to add a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and half truths and half fiction. So I'm gonna play out some of the videos that I do watch in Netflix. I mean on YouTube that struck a chord. I can't play the video because you don't want to get a bomb track, but we'll let this hear out in some other YouTube stories that they tell you about the story about what happened with Jeffrey Dahmer with the whole incident back in the 90s, and it was all over the news. So, but let this play out anyway, okay?
10 things Dahmer Monster, the Jeffrey Dahmer story, got factually right and wrong.
Yes.
What I did, I should be dead.
For this list, we're looking at what was fact and what was fiction in Ryan Murphy's Netflix series about the infamous serial killer. Are you watching Dahmer? Let us know in the comments below. Number 10. How Jeffrey Dahmer was caught. Right. Netflix's limited series about Jeffrey Dahmer begins with the night a would-be victim survived an encounter with the killer.
Somebody call the police! Help me!
On July 22nd, 1991, Tracy Edwards spent hours in Dahmer's apartment in fear, waiting for an opportunity to make his escape. And though the way in which he escaped is depicted differently in the series, Edwards did hit Dahmer and ran out of the apartment.
I hit him, and I ran towards the door, and he was right there, tried to grab me, get me back in there.
2 police officers went to Dahmer's residence to obtain the key to unlock the handcuffs still on one of Edwards' wrists. Once they found explicit photos documenting some of the murders, Dahmer was apprehended, putting an end to his reign of terror.
The officers were stopped by an individual who claimed he was in the apartment and became engaged in a dispute with the owner of the apartment and left the apartment and called the officers.
Number 9. Dahmer wore yellow contacts. Right. One of the lesser-known facts about Dahmer was his strange habit of wearing yellow contact lenses.
You see my contacts? They're just like the Emperor's. Got him at a costume shop in Kenosha.
He wore them because he felt connected to 2 dark characters in his favorite movies. The Emperor from Star Wars Episode 6, Return of the Jedi, and the Gemini Killer from The Exorcist 3. In changing his appearance to resemble these powerful fictional figures, Dahmer himself felt more powerful and predatory.
Okay, see, with that one right there, you know how sometimes when you watch a movie, you can relate to that movie and you feel like it's you, but with him, it's like, you know, when you watch any movie, like Lion King, you know, lion, you see yourself as a dominant lion or princess, whatever. So, but this one, he can relate of the dark forces, which is the Exorcist and Return of the Jedi. So, those are evil characters. So, for anyone who can relate to that, I mean, in their soul, in their mind, they are evil. So, if anybody sees a character and they relate to that character, that's evil, and they have evil intentions. So there's an urge to do that. So to me, I think if you do watch that movie, I mean the series, you'll understand how evil can take over your entity, your soul, your body and soul, and sometimes you just can't stop because the evil, I think it's demonic. I think he got possessed and he couldn't stop the urge. That's just my say. Anyway, I'll let this play out.
I actually derived a sort of pleasure from watching that tape.
Did you like feeling evil?
No, I didn't. But I tried to overcome the thoughts, and it worked for a while, but eventually I gave in.
He repeatedly watched the films before he went out to find another victim to bring home, often making them watch the films with him.
What are we gonna do? Told you. We're gonna hang out. Gonna watch a movie. Gonna take some pictures. And I'll pay you.
Tracy Edwards also testified that while playing The Exorcist 3, Dahmer was chanting and rocking back and forth.
It was like a slow song, like some of that nature, some close like that, I'm not sure.
Did it keep on for a period of time?
Off and on throughout the ordeal.
Number 8. How Ronald Flowers...
See, when you go off and on, something triggered off in his brain, which is a dark entity. So when he kept on going like that, it's his brain getting taken over by a darker force. And he said it is real, because evil is real, and being possessed is real. And I think he was possessed. Actually, I know he's possessed. You don't do this heinous act if you don't know if you did it or not. And then it's something he says he would black out. So, it is real.
Survived. Wrong.
Jesus.
Don't worry, I'm not a cop.
Another survivor of Dahmer was Ron Flowers, who met him when his car broke down and Dahmer offered to help. He took him to his grandmother's West Allis residence and drugged his coffee. But Dahmer is interrupted when his grandmother sees that something is wrong with the young man.
You should take that young man to a hospital.
What? He's just a little wasted, Grandma.
I will not have some stranger dying in my house.
He'll be fine. Just let him sleep it off. Jeez.
No. Something is not right here.
She is adamant about staying with the unconscious guest, making sure he gets on a bus the next morning. But her actual involvement in saving Flowers from her grandson has never been reported. Like in the series, Flowers woke up in County General Hospital.
Where am I? You OD'd. You're lucky to be alive.
But what isn't mentioned is that he was also covered in abrasions and believed he might have been assaulted. He later testified that he didn't know how he got there, though the series provides a fictional scenario.
The guy I met last night, he was weird. He must have slipped something in my drink. Dude tried to kill me.
Number 7. Dahmer posed in yearbook photos. Right.
How did he get in there?
I don't know. Dan, how did you not catch this?
I'm sorry, I didn't see him in the photo.
It's your goddamn job, Dan.
The Netflix series mainly follows Jeffrey Dahmer as an adult, but a flashback to him in high school shows him sneaking into a yearbook picture for the Honor Society, despite not being a member. Yes, he actually did this, and his face was subsequently blacked out of the photo. My Friend Dahmer, both the graphic novel and its film adaptation, go further into the prank and the other club photos he infiltrated.
Excuse me, what do you... Oh, no. Is that really necessary?
Former classmates have described how his bizarre behavior in school quickly went from entertaining to concerning, given his heavy drinking.
And I remember sitting next to him in a first period, I believe, history class, and he had a styrofoam cup of scotch, I believe it was scotch.
Wow.
And I remember saying,
scotch?
"What is that?" And he threw his head back and he shook it and he said, "It's my medicine."
Number 6. Dahmer killed Dean Vaughn. Wrong. In episode 7, Glenda Cleveland meets Dean Vaughn, a new resident of the Oxford Apartments.
Sorry I snapped on you. You gotta be careful in this neighborhood.
Well, I'm a good guy. Scout's honor.
She sees him talking to Dahmer in the hall and is visibly concerned. The series doesn't follow through with his story, but it does point viewers in a certain direction. However, Vaughn was really a tenant in the building. He was found strangled in his upstairs apartment in early May 1991. Dahmer was questioned about the suspicious death before he was arrested, and again when he was eventually caught. Both times he denied knowing him, and no evidence was ever found connecting him to the crime. As of 2022, the murder of Dean Vaughn is still unsolved.
And what about Dean Vaughn?
Oh, it's two service.
You was talking to him in the hallway, then I never saw him after that.
2 houses.
Number 5. Baptized the same day as John Wayne Gacy's execution. Right.
So you never done construction work before?
No. Well, like I said, it's just stuff around the house, helping Mama, you know.
The beginning of the final episode doesn't open on Jeffrey Dahmer, but rather another infamous serial killer, John Wayne Gacy, aka the Killer Clown. In the 1970s, Gacy took the lives of more than 33 young men in Illinois until he was arrested in December 1978.
Gacy was the epitome of evil, and he was the epitome of being a great guy, which gave him the ability to be the most evil guy in the world.
Well, I'm gonna definitely have to do my homework on that Gacy guy, the clown killer. And who the heck likes clowns, man? They're actually scary looking. They are scary looking. But anyway.
Years, the convicted murderer was on
30.
death row at Illinois' Menard Correctional Center, and on May 10th, 1994, Gacy was executed by lethal injection.
Wow.
John Wayne Gacy was pronounced dead at
I didn't even know anything about Gacy, but damn, he didn't eat his freaking victims,
He got a much easier death than any of his victims. In my opinion, he got an easier death than he deserved.
Wow.
But the important thing is that he paid for his crimes with his life.
Meanwhile, in Wisconsin, Dahmer was being baptized by Minister Roy Ratcliffe. And, as it's briefly mentioned in the series, a partial solar eclipse also occurred that day. What does it all mean? We don't know, but this connection between two notorious killers is definitely eerie.
Congratulations, Jeff. You saved.
Well, he got baptized. Let's just say he got, let me pause it. A commercial. Well, he got baptized, which is good because baptizing his sins and God forgives all who are sinners. Whew. But that's very, very hard to swallow sometimes. But anyway, it's true the way it is. If you do believe.
Thanks.
But wow.
Thank you.
Number 4. Victim impact statements. Right.
I would like to say to Jeffrey Dahmer that he don't know the pain, the hurt, the loss, and the mental state he's put our family in.
One of the most heartbreaking parts of Jeffrey Dahmer's 1992 trial was hearing the impact statements. After sitting through the details of his crimes, family members of the victims had the opportunity to address the court. One of the more harrowing statements came from Rita Isbell, the sister of Errol Lindsay. The series recreates the emotionally charged moment with actress Deshawn Barnes, who embodied the palpable pain, anger, and sadness of Isabel in her performance.
Now, I don't want to ever have to see my mother go through this again. Never, Jeffrey. Jeffrey, I hate you.
And Dahmer's own statement took a lot from the real-life one.
That I did what I did, not for reasons of hate. I hated no one.
Number 3. Glenda Cleveland lived at the Oxford Apartments. Wrong. In the series, actress Niecy Nash plays the role of Glenda Cleveland, a woman who is often overlooked in the Jeffrey Dahmer case. She interacts with him, mostly to complain about the smell and noise coming from his apartment through her vent.
I gotta say, that smell is worse than ever.
Is it?
The real Cleveland actually lived in the building next to the Oxford Apartments. The character is likely a composite of Cleveland and Pamela Bass, the woman who lived across the hall from Dahmer, who possibly unknowingly consumed human meat given to her by her neighbor.
Wow.
However, Glenda Cleveland did continuously call Milwaukee police after her daughter Sandra Smith and niece Nicole Childress told her about a boy they tried to help. Number 2. Milwaukee police officers returned a victim back to Dahmer's apartment. Right.
What are you doing?
In late May 1991, some young women, including Smith and Childress, found Conorak's synthesome stumbling in the streets, not in the Oxford Apartments hallway as shown in the series. They called the police to help the very young-looking boy.
He was holding on to me with a really, really strong grip, and he was trembling, he was shaking. So I just stayed with him, and I was like, I'm gonna get you some help.
But when Dahmer came back to his apartment, he convinced officers Joseph Gabrish and John Balserzak that synthesome was of age and his boyfriend. In the series, Cleveland is at the scene confronting police, trying to tell them that he was a minor.
Wait. You just gonna let him take this baby back inside?
Ma'am, he's telling me this is where they live. We're gonna take him back inside.
Y'all don't at least want to find out how old this boy is first?
Ma'am, he says it's his boyfriend. We'll handle it from here.
I'm really sorry about this, everybody.
Despite protests from the women, the officers escorted Dahmer and his incoherent boyfriend back to his apartment. When the police left, Dahmer killed him.
Wow. That's pretty brutal, yeah. Leave no evidence,
Balserzak were suspended, but later reinstated. Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure...
Okay, so that's just a little bit of a commercial. So if those of you who want to know more about it, just go to matchmojo.com.
Dahmer always wore his glasses at trial. Yeah. Wrong.
Mr. Dahmer, before I impose sentence, I understand you have a statement you'd like to read?
Yes, Your Honor.
Towards the end of the series, Jeffrey Dahmer goes on trial for the murders. While the majority of the scenes are accurately recreated, there's one detail that was different. Evan Peters as Dahmer almost always wears the killer's trademark glasses. But the real Dahmer specifically did not wear his glasses throughout most of the trial. His reason? He didn't want to look the jury or victims' families in the face. Yes, it's a small inaccuracy in a largely true-to-life series. However, his decision to remove his eyewear is significant because it shows that he was unable to face his crimes.
Because I didn't feel accountable to anybody. I didn't feel that I had to face what I had done ever. And so there comes a point where a person has to be accountable for what he's done. Can't go around making excuses, blaming other people or other things.
Did you enjoy this video?
Alright, so that's pretty much the end of this segment of MatchMojo.com. So if you want to see the clips about what's true and what's fiction about the movie, go check it out. But it is heinous and it is very disturbing. But I got caught interest because back in the day when I was in my 20s and 2021 at the time, I was seeing it consistently on television, so you can't help but watch it. So anybody who kills their victim and eats it is worth knowing what makes a person to do that. So, but anyway, I'm gonna let this play out on Inside Edition, and there's actually a one-on-one interview of Jeffrey Dahmer, and I'll let that play out. If sometimes it's not playing, but yeah, wait, there you go, Inside Edition. And those of you who were born, raised in the 90s and do watch news and the OJ case, and it was big back.
I desensitized myself to it. I don't know, I went to great lengths.
He is pure evil, but you never know it by looking at him. But when you hear him, that's another story. His killing field was Milwaukee, and he got away with murder for more than a decade. But how could any of this happen? For the first time ever, Nancy Glass is here.
That's Bill O'Reilly.
The world of Jeffrey Dahmer.
Bill, when I sat down opposite Jeffrey Dahmer for this interview, I wondered what he would tell me, how hard it would be to get him to discuss his horrific crimes. What I found was that he was very forthcoming. He volunteered details that may be difficult to hear. I began by asking what he wanted from the men he picked up.
I had these obsessive desires and thoughts wanting to control them, to, I don't know how to put it, possess them permanently.
And that's why you killed them.
Right.
Control.
Right. Not because I was angry with them, not because I hated them, but because I wanted to keep them with me. And as my obsession grew, I was saving body parts such as skulls and skeletons.
Jeffrey Dahmer is recalling his monstrous past. Almost 2 years ago, in this little apartment in Milwaukee, police discovered the grisly remnants of one of the most horrible crime sprees in American history. Jeffrey Dahmer, an unassuming chocolate factory worker, would eventually confess that he had seduced, murdered, and dismembered 17 young men. He even ate some of his victims' body parts. He instantly became the center of worldwide media attention, a serial killer unmasked.
Wow, that is wild, man. Seeing this unfold, even looking back in the 90s, didn't really know what's going on and how evil a man can be, but his intentions were definitely not forgivable. And what's going on, Randy? What's up, buddy? Get up there. Up, go. Dog. And to him to get possessed and take control, when you figure out an evil demonic entity takes over your body and you can't do it, so you know something's not right in his mind. And I think it all boils down to when his mother was even his father said he could do a little bit more, that she was addicted and she was all kinds of painkillers, uppers, downers before she had Jeffrey Dahmer, so it could have a chemical imbalance in that aspect of when she was born. So I don't know how true that is, but you figure if you were born with an addictive parent, you know it's going to get passed to their child. So he had that, not only that's the mental state, but also the addictive personality, or the addictive whatever they were on before they were born. So getting all these texts here, but anyway, yeah. So you have to be careful about that. People are addicted, but anyway.
Tests and press conferences in Milwaukee as people try to understand how this could have happened in their midst. How did Jeffrey Dahmer get away with murder after murder for 13 years? How did a boy born into a hard-working middle-class family turn into the worst kind of monster imaginable? In this exclusive interview, we put those questions to Jeffrey Dahmer himself. We met with him at the maximum security prison where he is serving his sentence of 999 years. For the first time, he talks about his crimes and gives us a chilling look inside the mind of a serial killer.
It's a process. It doesn't happen overnight. When you depersonalize another person and view them as just an object for pleasure instead of a living, breathing human being, it
takes over.
Seems to make it easier to do things you shouldn't do.
The reason why Jeffrey Dahmer was able to get away with his crimes was because of just what you are seeing here. Jeffrey Dahmer is intelligent and articulate. Yeah. That is what makes him so frightening.
Wow.
But if you listen carefully to his words throughout this interview, you realize it is a thin disguise.
Yeah.
You do sound, though, like the kind of person who could have said to himself, "This is wrong. I must stop."
I always knew that it was wrong, but after the first killing was not planned. I was coming back from the shopping mall back in '78. I had fantasies about picking up a hitchhiker and taking him back to the house and having complete control and dominance over him.
The hitchhiker's name was Stephen Hicks. He was just 18. Jeffrey Dahmer took him to his parents' house. There he strangled him with a barbell. He dismembered the body and hid it in a drain pipe. It was Jeffrey Dahmer who gave those details to the police in his confession.
No one had a clue as to what was happening for over a decade.
During that time, Jeffrey Dahmer joined the army and was sent to Germany. He was eventually discharged for a drinking problem and returned to Ohio. 9 years after Stephen Hicks' murder, the killing began again.
What happened to you in the 9 years in between that you were able to stop, that you were able to control?
It just wasn't an opportunity to fully express what I wanted to do. There was just not the physical opportunity to do it then. And I started, when I moved to Milwaukee in '81, I started reading pornography, going to the bookstores. Eventually that led to frequenting the gay bars. And then one time I brought this young man back to the hotel room, the Ambassador Hotel.
It's the bathhouse.
I was just planning on drugging him and spending the night with him. I had no intention of hurting him. When I woke up in the morning, he had a broken rib here. I was heavily bruised. Apparently I had beaten him to death with my fists.
And you have no memory
I
of it?
have no memory of it. But that's what started the whole spree all over again.
Dahmer says he snuck the corpse of his victim, Stephen Toomey, out of his hotel room in a suitcase. Then he took it to his grandmother's house, where he cut up the body and put it in plastic garbage bags.
When you killed these men, afterwards, were you repulsed? Were you upset?
No, at the time, it was almost addictive. It was almost a surge of energy. I wouldn't have to worry about any of their needs or anything. I just had complete control of the situation.
Yeah, it's
but
about
Jeffrey
control and
Dahmer
dominance,
was out of control. The urge to kill had overpowered him. As police later learned, he wasn't satisfied with his victim's death. He wanted more.
Why did you photograph them?
It was my way of remembering their appearance, their physical beauty. I also wanted to keep if I couldn't keep them there with me whole, at least I felt that I could keep their skeletons. And I even went so far as planning on setting up an altar with the 10 different skulls and skeletons.
And what was the purpose of the altar going to be?
As a sort of memorial. A point where I could, I don't know, it's so bizarre and strange, it's hard to describe. A place where I could collect my thoughts my obsession.
When the bodies were still in your apartment, there was no time when you would see them and say, "This is grotesque. What have I done?"
There were times, but the compulsive obsession with doing what I was doing overpowered any feelings of revulsion.
This man with a quiet, almost shy demeanor became a master manipulator who was able to lure strangers he met at gay bars to his apartment. He was even able to con the police into returning a 14-year-old boy to him after neighbors called 911 upset that the child was in the street naked and bleeding. Dahmer convinced the police that he and the boy were simply having a lover's quarrel.
It's an intoxicated boyfriend of another boyfriend.
How old was this child?
He wasn't a child, he was an adult.
After the police left, Jeffrey Dahmer murdered that boy, Conrad Sympathism. This man says he had a near-fatal encounter with Jeffrey Dahmer.
He wanted to take some picture of my back. He hit me with a rubber hammer on my neck.
He was lucky to escape because by then the killing had become almost routine.
Before you went out to pick up a man, was there any kind of ritual you went through?
I'd go to the nightclubs, drink, watch the striptease shows, and if I didn't meet anyone at the bars, I'd go to the bath clubs and meet someone there, offer them money, and we'd go back to the apartment, have a few drinks. I'd have the sleeping pill mixture already prepared. Person would drink it, fall asleep, and that's when they would be strangled.
Watching the movie Exorcist 3 was also part of his ritual. It put him in the mood for murder.
I felt so hopelessly evil and perverted that I actually derived from watching that tape.
Did you like feeling evil?
No, I didn't. But I tried to overcome the thoughts, and it worked for a while, but eventually I gave in.
See, I gave in. So the last segment I was talking about is giving in to evil, when the evil possesses you, and you can't help but... What is wrong here? The forces that are making you... you can't stop because of that evil entity that's taking hold of your mind, body, and soul. So with him...
Hey folks, this is Aaron Fletcher here at Growthwork.
He definitely felt it, and he couldn't control it, and that's why he was doing what he...
And at a concert this magical,
so.
Light up your...
Oh my lord. My computer's going haywire right now. What the heck is going on here? Try to quit. Alright, quit. What is going on here? Yeah, so... Well, anyway, I'm gonna... Yeah, I don't know what's going on here. Recording in... It is going a little bit funky, so... I'm gonna let this... Alright, a little bit of a glitch, so I had to reboot. But anyway, I'm gonna leave off... I'm gonna play where we left off on the serial killer of Jeffrey Dahmer and Inside Edition back in the 90s.
Was lucky to escape because by then the killing had become almost routine.
Before you went out to pick up a man, was there any kind of ritual you went through?
I'd go to the nightclubs, drink, watch the striptease shows, and if I didn't meet anyone at the bars, I'd go to the bath clubs and meet someone there, offer them money, and we'd go back to the apartment, have a few drinks. I'd have the sleeping pill mixture already prepared. Person would drink it, fall asleep, and that's when they would be strangled.
Watching the movie Exorcist 3 was also part of his ritual. It put him in the mood for murder.
I felt so hopelessly evil and perverted that I actually derived a sort of pleasure from watching that tape.
Did you like feeling evil?
No, I didn't. But I tried to overcome the thoughts, and it worked for a while, but eventually I gave in.
While Jeffrey Dahmer may say things today that make it seem like he understands what went on in his mind, he does not. All he can do is tell you what happened, but he cannot stop whatever it is that drove him to kill in the first place.
Do you still feel those same urges? Do you still feel that compulsion, that obsession?
I wish I could say that it just left completely, but no, there are times when I still do have the old compulsions.
Jeffrey Dahmer says as time went on, his mind became more and more warped, and yet he was clever enough to continue to elude police and lure young men to his apartment. We should warn you, the details are very graphic.
I started having these obsessive thoughts when I was about 15 and 16, and they got worse and worse.
What were your fantasies about?
They were sexual fantasies. Satisfaction.
Yes. He became so warped by his evil impulses that he even took a victim's head with him to work at the Ambrosia chocolate factory.
I kept the mummified head and skull of one of the victims in a carrying case in my locker at work.
Were you almost flaunting it?
Yes, but that's how strong the compulsion was. That's how bizarre the desire was. I wanted to keep something of the person with me.
Jeffrey Dahmer exhibited some disturbing behavior early on. He began drinking heavily as a teenager, dropped out of college, was arrested for indecent exposure, disorderly conduct, and fondling a 13-year-old boy. Tragically, one of his murder victims would be that boy's brother.
Do you know what started it? Was there any kind of incident that you can remember?
To this day, I don't know what started it. And the person to blame is sitting right across from you. That's the only person. Not parents, not society, not pornography. I mean, those are just excuses.
His macabre 13-year crime spree finally ended when this man, Tracy Edwards, brought the police to the infamous apartment. Like the others, he had gone there with the promise of money.
He was listening to my heart, because at a point he told me he was going to eat my heart at that point. I hit him, and I ran.
What was the turning point for you that made you suddenly realize that you had done something terribly wrong, something you should be sorry for?
It was the night of the arrest. I have no memory of what happened during the 6 hours before the last victim ran out of the apartment. I heard a knock on the door, and the police were there with with the last victim. They asked me where the key was to the handcuffs. My mind was in a haze. I sort of pointed to the bedroom, and that's where they found the pictures. And they yelled, "Cuff him." And I was handcuffed, and it was just the realization that there was no point in trying to hide my actions anymore. The best route was to help the police identify all the victims and just make a complete confession.
When it was revealed that most of the victims were black or homosexual, people in Milwaukee were incensed. Many felt that was why he went after them and why the police didn't seem to care when their families reported them missing.
10 of your 17 victims were black. Were they racially motivated?
It was
crimes?
not racially motivated. It was not sexual preference. It was just to find an obsession with the best-looking young man I could find.
While you just heard him say that his sexual preference had nothing to do with the killings,
No.
he has not come to terms with his homosexuality.
Never understood it. There was no use trying to fight it because I couldn't rid myself of it. It was too powerful and persistent.
Do you dislike it?
Yes, it's caused a lot of problems for me. A lot of conflicts and unanswered questions.
The conflicts remain with him, and so do his compulsions. But in prison, he finally cannot act on his savage desires.
If you were out on the street now, would you still be committing the crimes?
Probably. If this hadn't happened, there's no doubt I probably would be. I can't think of anything that would have stopped me.
Right, that was an episode of Inside Edition, so I don't want to go too much further into the video, so if you guys want to watch it, go watch a Netflix film. It's 50-50 truth, 50-50 make-up, so knowing Hollywood, you're going to add a little bit of this, a little bit of that, a little truth serum, let up fake tree. So, watching this back in the 90s, the Inside Edition, I remember this very vividly about back in the day of some serial killer killing, sexually abusing, and eating the victim. So to me, that caught my attention. 25 years later, 30 years later, they make a movie on Netflix. So to me, I needed to know what was going on, why it caught my interest. To me, I always find serial killing very intriguing, why people do that kind of heinous act. To me, I think it's a lot of demonic forces being forced entity into your soul, and you're being possessed by evil demonic entities. So I don't want to go any further. Do your own homework. To me, it was very fascinating. So now I know the ins and outs of how Jeffrey Dahmer became a serial killer. So okay, guys, so thanks for watching me today in this segment. Thanks for joining me. It's been a while since I did a little podcast, but today I'm going to do a little bit more about films, music, documentaries, about watching things that caught my interest, especially documentaries, because I love documentaries, and even films that I do like watching too as well too. So I'll give you my input, and I'll have more commentary videos, music, films, and documentaries coming your way there, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for watching. God bless, Godspeed, and we'll see you in the next video. Alright, so I going through Jeffrey Dahmer's American Serial Killer on Wikipedia and stating the fact that Jeffrey Lionel Dahmer, also known as the Milwaukee Cannibal or the Milwaukee Monster, was an American serial killer, sex offender who committed the murder and dismembered of 17 men and boys between 1978 to 1991. Many of these later murdered involved in necrophilia. So, can't help but dig in deep about doing your homework about why they made the Netflix film about 20 years later. But it is really good to know to do your own homework and find out what's behind the monster's mind. Okay, in early life, childhood, Dahmer was born on May 21st, 1960 in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. So he would be 61 or 62 right now. The first of two sons of Joyce Annette Flint, a telephone machine instructor and type machine instructor, and Lionel Dahmer. So that is the Wikipedia, but on November, Jeffrey Lionel Dahmer, May 21st, 1960, November 28th, 1994, also known as the Milwaukee Cannibal, Milwaukee Monster, was America's serial killer, sex offender who committed the murder of and dismembered 17 men and boys between 1978 to 1991. Many of these later murder involved necrophilia, cannibalism, and the prominent perversion of body parts, typically all part of the skeleton. Although he was diagnosed as borderline personality disorder, schizotypal personality disorder, probably just botched that word, and psychic disorder, Dahmer was found to be legally sane at the trial. He was convicted in 15 and 16 murders he had committed in Wisconsin and was sentenced to 15 life terms and life imprisonment in February 17, 1992. So I was 22 at the time. And Dahmer was later sentenced to a 16th term of life imprisonment for additional homicide committed in Ohio in 1978. On November 19, 1994, November 28, 1994, Dahmer was beaten in death by Christopher Carver, a fellow inmate in Columbia Correctional Institute of Portland, Wisconsin. So, going through his Wikipedia page, pretty much tells you the whole background of his childhood and adolescence, high school, what he went through, and the late teen and early 20s, first murder, college and army services, return to Ohio, and relocation to West Allies, Wisconsin. So it was pretty brutal, I must say. So all you can do is, when you watch this video, you could just pause and read through the Ambassador Hotel, which is the bathhouse that well known in that area, intimidating incidents and all that heinous acts. He was 924 North 25th Street, 1990 killings of the Oxford Apartments. Dahmer moved into apartment at 213 of May 1990 and murdered 12 of his victims at the location. So it's right here. The movie was pretty interesting. I didn't like it at first. The first episode, because it kind of felt like it was kind of like very. It was boring and it was kind of like an amateur for some reason. But then I watched the second show, then it got better and better. So then I got interested and I got hooked on knowing what really happened in Jeffrey Dahmer. Like I said, it was 2020, 50-50 truth and 50-50 made up. So half truth and whatnot. It still caught my interest in that, maybe to do a podcast on the serial killer, and it was very well known worldwide of how a monster killed, sexually abused, and dominated their victims, and even consumed them and ate them, and resorted to cannibalism. So I don't know how anybody could do that, but obviously he was possessed. You could say that. But yeah. So all the information is on the Wikipedia, so I'll have the links provided below, and you can just do your own homework yourself, or just even watch and just pause this and read it for yourself. To me, I did my homework because when something strikes my interest and I want to know more about it, so I'll do my due diligence, and I will do my homework on to do the right and relay it to my podcast and on my YouTube channel as well, there, ladies and gentlemen. So I had to put that as a bonus at this podcast so that you guys can make up your own conclusion on what you think about him and how he is, and whether he's a monster or he was a good person. Well, that went bad or born evil and became more wicked as he got older to do these heinous acts. So I don't agree with any of what he did, but he did get baptized, and God does forgive all your sins, whether you're a killer or not. And I hope he really put his heart and soul to be saved, and being Catholic Christian, to be baptized for all your sins, especially that kind of sin when you kill somebody and consume it and eat them. That's like a whole new other level. Okay, guys. So, all right. Thanks for watching me today in this podcast and this bonus section at the end for you to do your own homework and find out there are people out there, and for him to do that and can't stop the urges, you really need to seek help. Have God on your side, and make sure you stay faithful to your Creator, so you won't have any demonic possessions, so you will become a better person when you get older in this life that God has given you. Okay, guys, bye for now. God bless, Godspeed, and see you in the next video.